Hey friends, it's Liz from the Peacock Homestead. And this week's Homestead happenings, I have some exciting news. We got 3 more Bantam chickens. They are like potato chips, you can't just get one. Well, these new little beauties, I am going to be clipping their wings today for their protection. It doesn't hurt, so I'll be just trimming the primary and secondary feathers. And out there's Hermione's egg. She likes to lay her eggs right in front of the door. So I have 6 Bantam chickens altogether, and I have 3 larger ones, 2 Rhode Island Reds, and 1 Americana. And there is Hermione and Thelma and Louise. I also wanted to recommend a really good chicken keeping book by Amy K. Farewell, and it is a really wonderful reference to people who are new to chicken raising and even to people that have owned chickens for many years. So I definitely highly recommend this book. And I got this wonderful cookbook not that long ago, so it is really new. It is a book by Julia Paccio. She also has a YouTube channel, and I ordered her very first book and she signed it, of course, so that's exciting. And the recipe that I was going to show you out of this cookbook is a chicken stuffing casserole with zucchini. This is a wonderful comfort meal. It is a casserole. And what you're going to need is some chicken stock, stuffing, a box of stuffing. I got that at Aldis for 88 cents. I got some yogurt, a little tallow to grease the pan, flour for the sauce, a couple of zucchinis, and an onion. And then I have some pepper and salt just to add a little bit of spice. And then I also have this little casserole dish, a medium-sized casserole dish. So first I'm just going to roast the chicken in the oven at 350 until it's done, and I'm going to take its temperature. The internal temperature should be at least 160 degrees. So I'm popping that in the oven, and I'm not even going to put the timer on. I'm just going to cook it for 40 minutes and check it and see where it's at. And then I'm going to get going chopping up this zucchini. So you can make it any shape you want. I like to cut it in rings, and then I'll cut it in half so it's not like a humongous bite. So I'll get those all chopped up. I am going to put both zucchinis in there. And then I'm going to chop up one of my last Amish onions. I have one more in the fridge. So that said, I'll probably have to buy some onions from them this year, but I love how they string them up and they're beautiful, and I love helping them out. But this is the onions, salt and pepper, and zucchini all in the bowl. I got that ready because I'm going to add it all to the mix. So I'm going to just show you how I made the sauce. You need some chicken stock. I put about a cup of the chicken stock, and then it called for sour cream, but I use yogurt. You can use that as a substitute. So I'm just adding my chicken stock. This is just basically going to be the base to the casserole. It's pretty much like a cream sauce. I'm just going to add a half a cup of milk and yogurt. And then I'm going to get my butter. I put 4 tablespoons, and I'm going to melt that all together and add the flour as a thickening agent. And I did use 3 tablespoons of flour, so I mixed it all in, and then I just heated it up until it was nice and thick. I actually made a slurry so it wouldn't be lumpy, so I added a little bit of that liquid that I just made, and I added flour to it, the 3 tablespoons, and I made my slurry, and I'm going to heat it up on the stove. And while that's heating up slowly, I'm going to grease my pan with some beef tallow because I don't want this to stick. I doubt it will with the chicken fat in it, but just to be safe. At the last minute, I decided I was going to add about a teaspoon of this chicken bouillon spice. I got that for $5 at Aldis, and that was a really good deal. I add this to a lot of my chicken dishes and even hamburger dishes. It adds so much depth of flavor. And I got that all thickened up, my nice looking sauce. I have my zucchini and my onions all chopped up. All I have to do is add the stuffing. So I'm just going to add half of the box to the mix. And I'm going to shred this chicken, and we're going to get it all mixed up with the sauce. and it's going to be delicious. And it's about 160 degrees Fahrenheit inside, so that means it is fully cooked. So I'm just shredding this chicken and I'm putting it in the bowl with the vegetables, and then I'm going to add the sauce to it and the stuffing, and we're going to assemble it all together and then sprinkle a little bit more stuffing that we reserved on top and get that baking in the oven. And I think most casseroles are baked at the same temperature. We're going to bake this at 350 degrees for about a normal casserole time, 40 to 45 minutes. And this is what it looked like on this night. It was smelling like Thanksgiving in the house. Wow, was that ever good? Thank you for the recipe, Julia. It is amazing. I'll be definitely making this again, and stuffing is my favorite when we have a Thanksgiving type meal, or definitely on Thanksgiving. Stuffing is my favorite, and I love doing different variations of this recipe. And it is also called a dressing, but I think it's a staple sometimes. I do love me a good casserole. It is nice and comforting, and then you can eat it for a couple days after. So, and it saved tons of money. The zucchini wasn't that much. The stuffing was only 88 cents. I already had the chicken in my freezer, so this meal was definitely a blessing and tasty. I'll be having this another night. So this week as well, I decided that I was going to make some of my bread as usual, so my sourdough bread, except for I am going to be putting it in my 2 glass bread baking dishes, and I decided that I was going to bake them like I do my regular yeast bread, and they turned out pretty good. So I got these in my glass pans. I greased them up with my beef tallow. I'm going to let them rise for a couple hours, and I'm going to bake them at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. This was a really good experiment. I wanted to try baking my sourdough bread this way because I didn't feel like going through heating my oven up in my Dutch oven for an hour and just dealing with all that. So this actually turned out really wonderful. These loaves were amazing. They taste just like my recipe because it was my recipe, except for it was in a different shape. So I was excited to show you that. But these are my beautiful new Bantam chickens. She is molting, so she's missing some feathers. And the little blue band around her leg means that she is a good mama. But these are the feathers. They are the primary and secondary. The front ones are for flying, and the back ones are for kind of a lift off. And I'm just going to be trimming them for her safety so she doesn't fly off into the neighbor's yard. They have really big dogs, and sometimes they run loose, and I don't know if they would attack my chickens, but they seem pretty gruff, so I want to protect them. There's also a lot of predators around. We have lots of foxes and coyotes here in the North Country. But I'm going to pop a couple diagrams of the primary and secondaries and where I'm actually cutting. It does not hurt them. They just don't like to be held for very long. But she's being such a sweet girl. She's just like, are we done yet? And her boyfriend is talking to her in the kennel. I have them all in the big cat kennel there, and I brought them in just to trim their wings, and I'm going to bring them out. And the big ones are picking on them a little, but they are getting a lot better. They're getting along. And see, that's where you're supposed to cut. The shorter feathers is the line, and then you go an inch further down, and that's where you trim them. Isn't she so cute and precious? This is my little Bantam rooster. He is so cute. He is molting too, so he looks a little rough. But he is such a good boy. He is not mean at all. He did peck me at first because it was the first time I ever held him. And he's like, hey lady, don't touch me. But isn't he being such a good boy here? He is being such a good little man. He's going to be the little girl's protector outside. We do give all of our chickens names, so I am looking for 5 little girl chicken names, and I decided to name him Little Brother because that is what just came to my mind when I seen him. It was off the movie Mulan, and that was Mulan's dog's name. But he is such a good little boy. He did not really enjoy this, but he was a gentleman. And this is my last little baby girl. And we are going to get her wings clipped and then get them outside so they can get more acquainted with their other sisters. So we're going to get them out. She, I think, was the best, but there is the feather line, the shorter feathers, and then I left them for the primary and secondary meat. I have 1 inch, and then I clipped it after that. But we're just going to get the other side done and get them out into the run. And they all have different personalities, just like kids. Some of them are talkers, some of them are shy, and some of them are super duper friendly. They all have their own personality, just like little kids. They're adorable. And I just don't have chickens for laying eggs. I have them for companions. They are part of the family and part of our homestead. And this chocolate chip cookie recipe is a wonderful recipe I've been making for 25 years. They taste just like you walked into a cookie shop and bought one of their best chocolate chip cookies. I know that's saying a lot, but I think they're delicious, and everyone that I make them for think they are delicious too. I am gonna have the recipe down in the show notes below. It'll be a link to my blog, and I'll have the direct link right to my recipe. But the ingredients are 2 sticks of butter, and you need to have them softened, 2 eggs, 1 3/4 cup of sugar, a tablespoon of molasses, a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking soda, and then I use 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1.5 cups of chocolate chips, and 3 cups of flour. And then I'm gonna pop this cookie dough in the fridge for about an hour just to stiffen it up. And if you don't make these right away, you can store these in your freezer for 3 to 6 months. So that's always a bonus. You can make them ahead of time and just put them in the freezer. I usually just put the whole ball of dough in the freezer, or you can make little balls and put them in the freezer. That makes it much easier. I just line my pizza pans with a silicone mat and bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can use 1 or 2 tablespoons of dough. I usually make 1 tablespoon of dough and I cook it to 9 to 11 minutes. But if you use 2 tablespoons, you're going to want to do 11 to 13 minutes. So I'm going to make the little balls and get them right in the oven, and I'm going to cook these for 11 minutes. This is going to be another night using another box of stuffing I got at Aldis for 88 cents. So I'm making a simple meatloaf with the box of stuffing, eggs, and hamburger. And then I'm pairing it with these sweet potato fries that I had made. So I just diced up 4 sweet potatoes into little wedges, and I put herbes de Provence on it and a little bit of olive oil. And I'm gonna bake these in the oven with the meatloaf. So I'm gonna get going making this meatloaf. It is super simple, nothing to it at all. and it is fairly cheap. I have 2 little eggs, I have a box of stuffing, and the hamburger that I already had in my freezer. And it is actually kind of frozen still. So I was gonna break it up with this really neat tool that I got. It's a little meat masher. This is a super awesome tool. I got this on Amazon for about $9. I love this. I can mash up meat with it. I mash potatoes, do lots of things culinary. So I got my box of stuffing, 2 eggs. I actually ended up adding 2 Bantam chicken eggs, which equal 1. So that's 3 eggs altogether in this. And that's it. No spices needed. All of the spices are included in the stuffing box, so you don't have to worry about adding spices that are really unnecessary unless you prefer them. Then we're going to get this shape into a little loaf pan, and we're going to add some ketchup on top. I sometimes make a barbecue sauce with my ketchup by adding salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, but we're just keeping it simple today. And I was going to bake this at 350 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes until the middle is brown. One of our comfort meals, our go-to meals. It's quick and easy. It's kind of like a homesteader's fast food, if you will. This is how our meatloaf dinner turned out with our sweet and savory sweet potato fries. We'll be having that for leftovers for at least tomorrow, and probably for lunch. We'll be having a couple of meatloaf sandwiches on the menu. The last recipe that I wanted to show you was I'm just going to be breading this bullhead with this stuffing. I'm also pairing it with these potatoes. I'm going to make some fried potatoes. I have some water glass eggs here that I washed up. I have a couple containers for the flour and the stuffing. And we are going to get going on breading these bullhead. And the reason why I chose using this stuffing is I wanted to show you that you can use stuffing in so many ways. And I actually did not have any breadcrumbs in my pantry, and I didn't want to make any because I was using that for our breakfast bread and using it for sandwiches. So I just decided that this was a super simple, easy way and very flavorful. And it was even better than panko. It was super delicious. So I'm taking this bullhead and I'm just gonna coat it in the flour, and then I'm gonna pop it in the egg wash and then the stuffing mix, and then I'm gonna just continue on, and we're gonna get these all breaded up. And then I'm heating the oil in one of my cast iron pans on my oven, and then we're gonna pop those in, cut up the potatoes, and get them frying in some beef tallow, and get dinner on its way. And my saying is, if it's not messy, it doesn't taste good. I just wanted to show you a little bit of what it looks like all breaded up and the reality of my mess that I made. But that is okay. It doesn't taste good unless you make a mess. And that's just the reality of home cooking all the time and cooking from scratch, but it is totally worth it. So I'm getting these potatoes and the fish all fried up, and we are gonna have a really delicious comfort meal tonight. And this is what dinner looked like. I put a little bit of chicken bouillon spice on my fried potatoes. I actually sliced up a lemon and I made some special sauce with the homemade mayonnaise that I had made and some ketchup. That's my chicken bouillon spice that I put on my fried potatoes, and that was a super delicious meal. And I just wanted to show you real quick all my little sprouts popping up. I am so excited. These are my lemon balm and thyme. Those are doing really wonderful. I have a few peppers here. They're going slow, some of them, because it's been really cold. This is the first seedlings that I planted. The seeds that I had saved from the Amish and from the farmer's market. These are some of my sweet Vidalia onions. I have a little baby right there. Everything seems to be popping up even though I'm using my windowsill. I only have one light and only 2 of the trays can fit under. And then my other light has a pear tree under it. So I'm using only the sunlight and they're doing pretty good. These are my radishes. They are popping up wonderfully. I had to take the top off it. And I can't wait to start putting all of my plants outside into my garden beds. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, I'd love it if you'd give me a subscribe. Hope you're all having a wonderful week. Many blessings, and I'll see you on the next video, friends.